Hi, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Hennessy, and I created this channel to talk through all things investing in Dominican Republic, traveling, and working from home. Now, in today's episode, it's going to be a combination of two topics. Obviously, 2024 has ended, and I want to give you guys an update on how much income I made, which is actually going to hurt me so much. And I also want to talk about a big topic, which is the amount of people that the government is reporting that it's coming to Dominican Republic. So let's go ahead and just dive in and get started. As you guys know, I'm not a pro at this. I'm not a pro at recording. I'm not a pro at editing. So this is like a one take as always. Also, this is based on my opinion and what I'm experiencing. And of course, I'm being vulnerable with sharing it with you guys. But again, I'm not a pro at it either. I think I've said this in the past, but I work my 9 to 5, although it is remote, very cushy in that sense. And I make a good amount of money. I did start to invest in Dominican Republic a few years ago, and I don't regret it. Like I feel like long term, it's all in like the right direction, if that makes sense. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm gonna start with the topic of how many people are traveling to Dominican Republic. So the government estimated that about 11 million people travel to Dominican Republic in 2024. Now, if you're looking to invest, obviously this number looks great. 11 million people, so much demand. But now, what is going on with Airbnb? And I'm going to break it down with my numbers. But what is going on with Airbnb? Is Airbnb coming down? Is there now a turn for people to want to stay at hotels more? Is there a shift going on? Now, in my personal experience and in my personal thoughts, I think that yes, there are a lot of people traveling to Dominican Republic, but there's also an influx of short-term rental and inventory. And yeah, so many people are traveling, but now there's a lot of inventory. So what ends up happening is that people are bringing down their nightly rates because there's just so much competition with so many options. It's not like a few people are getting the higher income. It's being divided by all these new Airbnbs all around Dominican Republic. Um, so I'm gonna back that up with my numbers, which I'm gonna be vulnerable because to be honest, this year was probably the worst year since I started doing Airbnb. It does not look great. And obviously some type of changes I'm going to have to do because it just doesn't make sense. If I keep trying to sustain what I have. So I'm gonna break it down. Let's start with the house. So I have a previous video that I walked through how much I made since I started Airbnb from 2021, which is when I started. I started August 2021, right? So now it's been 22, 23, 24, 3.5 years of Airbnb in Dominican Republic. And as I mentioned previously, when I started with the house that my mom gave me, which is a 3 bed, 3 bath house. It can sleep up to 10 people, but I only advertise it for 8. And I think I've mentioned this in the other video if you go back and watch it. But in 2021, when I started in August through that end of year of 2021, I didn't make much money. As a recap, I made $2,079.50 during that time period. So again, a bit nervous, but not too nervous because that wasn't the intention of the house. I had the house mainly because I was coming to DR a lot. I wanted a spot. And then when I wasn't going to be there, my thought process was just to rent it out. And then in 2022, the house did some good numbers. And when I say good numbers, right, this is relative. I mean in the sense of I didn't have much expenses, so all of that money coming in for the house was just extra. And this is just what I personally like just managed to make. So in 2022, I made $11,729.19. I think that's a two that I wrote down. You can also go back in the previous video and watch. And then in 2023, I made a whopping $9,876.64, right? So from 2021 to 2022, things looked a lot better, and then in 2023, it kind of fell off. But 2024, things fell off hard. When I tell you hard, they fell off hard. For the house in 2024, I've only made $3,800.42. Let me repeat that. $3,800.42. I was so shocked, really. The house, especially during the months that it's usually rented. So I think I've said this in the previous video, but usually summer months for the house were really great in the last 2 years. But it wasn't the case this year. And I don't know if that was like having to do with other things. Like, for instance, this year around that time, it rained a lot here, which usually doesn't happen. Usually, like, for instance, it starts to rain late August into September when hurricane season hits, right? But this year, it rained a lot. It rained a lot in DR. And I don't know if that had something to do with it. Again, the government is saying we had 11 million people, which is a record breaking number coming to the country. Um, Not sure if weather had something to do with it. It can also be that in the area that I'm in, there is definitely, like, compared to previous years, there's a lot more Airbnbs. I remember, like, when I started, there weren't that many like private houses with a private pool, which was what attracted people to the house. And now you can look it up and there's easily, like, oh my God, so many new builds. That's another thing, right? Like, my house is not a new build. Like, we're talking about an older house that I did a few touches to make it a little bit more attractive, but that was about it. So you have these new builds. Um, with the private pool, people are going through that. There's also just a lot more inventory. So now people have so many spots to choose from. And that's all I did in 2024. So I'm being very vulnerable and it hurts my heart to even say it. But obviously, like, almost $4,000, it's not sustainable. Um, Actually, it doesn't hurt me again because I'm not like spending a lot on the house. Again, I've mentioned this previously, but my bills for the house, because it was all like cash when my mom bought it, when I made the renovations, it was all cash. I only have to pay electricity and internet cable, right? Like, those are my only fixed expenses. Other expenses could vary. Like, for instance, I have a generator and I have to fill it up with fuel. That depends on, how much is being, like, wasted. But if it's not being rented out, it's not really being wasted, right? And also with, like, gas for the stove, right? Again, if it's not being used because it's not being rented out, then I'm not really spending much. So I think in expenses, I paid for 2024 about $2,280 or so. So I only made what, like, $1,500 clean for the year. So that kind of hurt my feelings. I'm not gonna lie. I am a little hurt. But I think I mentioned this in the previous video when I was walking through the house, but it made me realize that if it's not working anymore, then I need to pivot. One thing that I'm thinking is just to fix it up for myself. So right now I spend months in DR. Like, I come and I spend 3-4 months and I leave, then I come and spend 2 more months and I leave, then I come and spend 1 more month. I think throughout the whole year I'm spending about 6 months or so in DR. And I currently rent out an apartment because rent is just, like, so cheap here. So I rent out a 1 bedroom apartment in La Romana. But again, it's like, my house is there, has a private pool. I do want to fix it up for myself and make it, like, more modern and cozy, and maybe redo the kitchen and things like that. Which obviously is going to be an expense, but it's just going to be, like, for me, it's not going to be to make money off of. It's just going to be for me to enjoy and live in my house because it's fine, right? So yeah, that's how much money I made on Airbnb with the house. Again, I only rent the house through Airbnb, and if someone hits me up privately, but mainly through Airbnb. Now, let's get into the apartment, because the apartment is located in a touristic area, right? It's located in an area that people go to. There's a lot of tourists, but there's a few things I've found to be like stuff that I have to think about with the apartment. Obviously, like when I bought it, Valladolid to me is like close to La Romana. I love that it's like a small town vibe. Um, I wanted something that was close to the beach for myself. And I think I've said this in previous videos, but if you're thinking about investing in DR, invest for yourself. I think, and this is my opinion. You do what you want, but this is my opinion. Invest for yourself, right? Like invest if you want this to be your part-time home for the year, or if you want to be your retirement home, or whatever the case is. And if you put it up on Airbnb and make some extra income, then whatever. But don't depend, like don't buy with the intention like I need this income to support, because I mean, not to say that it can't happen. Maybe you buy it in the best place ever and are making guap, right? But I know that's not the case for me. So let's talk about it. I purchased the apartment, sorry, in Valladolid in 2022, and I put it up on Airbnb, and I have it up on Verbo, and I rent it out privately in January of 2023. So 2023 was my first year with the apartment, full year on Airbnb, which I made $20,435.77. And then I think I spoke about this in my previous video, but some of my fixed expenses are the condo fee that I have to pay monthly, of course, internet, electricity, which isn't fixed, but it's an expense that comes every month. um, but the biggest expense is the mortgage, and so that's what makes the apartment a little bit more complicated, because I have this mortgage that I need to pay. Every month. So in 2023, I ended up like expensing $19,200, which literally I just right there I was even. I made $1,000, I think, profit, and it cut even, and that was fine with me because again, like I wanted the apartment, and I took out this mortgage. Because I wanted something close to the beach, and I really like Valladolid, and I like how close it is to La Romana. Now let's talk about 2024, because I still think I made a decent amount of money in 2024, but obviously it went down. So in 2024, I made $17,347.20, right? I'm being exact. I'm putting it all out there. This is like as honest as anyone is ever gonna be, because this is very vulnerable. Like I'm just giving you guys like my actual numbers, and it really hurts me, obviously, because I made this to like try to encourage people to invest in DR. And again, maybe it's not with the purpose of just doing Airbnb or short-term rental. But it's still like a pride thing, right? Like, damn, I just didn't really make a lot. So I made that 17K, a little over 17K. My expenses were pretty similar for the year, a little over $19,000 in expenses, again, with the mortgage of the apartment being my highest monthly expense. And so, yep, I lost about a little over 2K for the year. Which again, for me, it's okay. I don't mind. I can pay it. But again, it does hurt that it didn't at least like break even like the year prior. So, again, going back to the beginning of this video, what are your guys' thoughts, right? The government is saying we had 11 million people visit Dominican Republic. It's a record breaking number, which is amazing, right? But then what is going on? Maybe I need to network more. Maybe I need to network with people that are doing Airbnb in DR, which I don't know anyone, because again, I'm only here part time and I work remote. So even I know like some people like to put the picture of you working remote and you could be out and about, but that's a lie. I'm in meetings like literally most of my day. I need to be somewhere that's quiet with good Wi-Fi. I don't leave my house. So maybe I need to like find out what other people are doing, but I know personally it was definitely a loss in 2024 for both properties. Didn't make enough money. The one thing I can say, I've traveled. I always, every year, I take a week off after my birthday. My birthday was January 8th, and I take a week off after my birthday to travel through DR. And this past week, I traveled through a few places in Dominican Republic. And one thing that I noticed, that for me to travel to those places, I did not spend much. Like, the nightly rates were pretty low. Which, could be a factor here because there's so much competition. And it's like, even if you rent out every single night for a year, it's like, but if you're renting out at this low nightly rate, are you still covering your expenses? I just want to know. I want to know what other people's like experiences. If you have an Airbnb already, how did it go in 2024? Like, let me know, because I really would love to connect with people that are going to be honest about it, and maybe we can bounce off ideas with each other. I don't know. I didn't do anything different from one year to the other. It's exactly the same property, same pictures, same description. Everything is pretty much the same. I'm not sure what happened from one year to the next, but again, overall, I don't think I ended up in a bad place. But of course, I am seeing this trend of Airbnb kind of declining. Maybe it's just a decline in Airbnb and short-term rent, and maybe hotels are doing like their comeback. But I don't know. That was me. Those are my numbers. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you are doing Airbnb in Dominican Republic or in any other part of the world, let me know how is it going for you. If if you have any thoughts on how the market is, let me know. If you're researching it, if you're like looking into it for your personal reasons, let me know, what you guys find. But yeah, I don't know. There's a disconnect somewhere. It just may be the decline of Airbnb. Anyways, thank you for sitting here and watching me, and yeah, letting me just rant. But I appreciate it. I hope you like, comment, and subscribe, and see you guys next time. Bye.